Good morning, good morning, good morning, friends and family. Shalom lachem, anashim tovim, uvruchim habaim la'arutz hakatan sheli hayom. Adain beYerushalayim, still in Jerusalem. I am standing and looking down into the Kidron Valley. And I am about to walk you down there. You want to go on a short morning walk with me? In front of you, of course, as you recognize, I'm sure, is the Mount of Olives. All right. There's a visitor center up on the top, which is where I will ultimately end in a second video, because again, I don't want them to be long. There's a visitor center up there by the Hebrew University. And I am going to walk you down into the Kidron Valley. This is the valley that runs around the side of the Temple Mount on the east, and it breaks into the Valley of the Cheesemongers, Gihon, the Valley of Hinnom, hell, in other words, and also the 23rd Psalm, Gate Salmawit, the Valley of the Shadow of Death. Let's go. Of course, you recognize the walls of the Temple Mount, and the block is still hot up there. Of course, there are gas canisters, rubber bullets, and the whole nine being fired. You can hear them pretty much in the distance in the background. So good morning for me. It's about 8:30 a.m. on Thursday morning here in Jerusalem, about 8:30 a.m. and just got off the phone talking to my mom. She's telling me the happenings in Oakland, back in Oakland, California, back home, which isn't much. Of course, I didn't expect anything majorly different. So yeah, I decided to get up at a decent hour this morning and to walk around. And walk down into the Kidron Valley. In the distance behind me rather, in the distance far down, you can see the Arab village of Silwan, which is related to the word Shaluach, Siloam, the pool of Siloam. It's down that way. Also in that area is also the Gihon Spring, that you read so much about in the Bible, in the Tanakh. It's the water source. And it's the way that David HaMelech, King David, captured and conquered Jerusalem. It was through those tunnels. Then it was called Yevus, and it was inhabited by the Yevusi, or the Jebusites, the Yevusi. Also, of course, up in the distance, you can see the massive cemetery. The massive cemetery that is on the eastern side. It's on the Mount of Olives, facing the city, facing the eastern gate. You already know information about that eastern gate in the anticipation that Mashiach, they want to be on the side for Tchiyat HaMetim, the resurrection of the dead. So they want to be on the side. They want to be among the first to be awakened when he returns. You can appreciate the great depth of this valley. And think about this for a second. When none of this was here, none of these cemeteries, none of these things, how many times did Yeshua and his Talmidim cross this valley in order to get back to the temple complex? So many times, walking back and forth. When you read the narrative of the Gospels, being here literally shrinks your idea of how big the picture appears to be. Sure, it's big in many ways. It's big, well, in obvious ways, but territorially or from covering ground, it's nowhere near as big as you would think it is. And I want to help shrink it for you until you can make your way here. So I have a group of wonderful friends and family who desire to join me in October after Sukkot ends, and they want to join me here. So I'm looking forward to beating this pavement with the likes of my good friend Vincent Davis, Shanti Doc, shout out to my girl 916 Shan Shan, to Henry Benz Jr., the pastor, congregational leader at Rehovot in Alameda, California, 710 Haight Street. Cross Street is Webster. As he loves to say, Haight Street spelled with H-A-I-G-H-T, hate. He says there's a whole lot of love on Haight Street. Okay, so you see little markers and signs here. Like, for example, this one here says Beit Kvorot Yehudi. So it's a cemetery, a Jewish cemetery. These structures that you're looking at, I don't know really any heavy history behind the structures, but as you can see further up on top of the Mount of Olives, I'm standing at the base of the giant Russian Orthodox Church that I've mentioned a few times. All right. Okay, so let's see what they're saying about this. So here you can see the sign, Lekever Bnei Chazir, okay, Ulekever Zechariyahu. So it's the graves of the sons of Hazir. I don't remember who he is, but of course we know. It says here that it's also the monument for Zechariah, the prophet. I don't know if there's any valid historicity to this or not, but I'm just showing you what I see. And of course, now you can appreciate the depth of my descent, as now I'm looking up from where I started talking to you. I was talking to you from right there at that corner. Right there at that corner is where I was talking to you from. Okay. And now I'm back. I'm down here at the bottom. So this is the Kidron Valley. And again, I mentioned the valley of the shadow of death. Gate Salmavet, or Gate Salmawet. Because, you know, if I were to keep walking in that direction and around the corner, which I'm not, because it's a long way, and it takes you down into the Seal One Valley, into the Arab village that I mentioned to you. A lot of cases people would be friendly to me, but I don't think they would be so friendly to me right about now with the heat that's going on up there on the Temple Mount platform. They wouldn't be so gracious to me. I don't feel like causing an international incident, firing on people with these guns. So we're going to avoid that. But if I were to go on down and around and through, you get to the Triophian Valley where the split takes place, the Valley of the Cheesemongers. But then also on further around, Gihon. It's associated with hell because this is the valley where people sacrificed their children, burned their bones to ashes to the would-be God, whose name I won't call, but you can read in the Tanakh to see his name. I don't want to recall its name. And then this particular monument is known as Yad Avshalom. Yad Avshalom. It's a monument to Avshalom or Absalom, the son of David HaMelech. You just heard that pop in the background. That's more rubber bullets. Even though I'm far away, up there on the Temple Mount, that's rubber bullets being fired. Because again, there's a lot of angst and anger going on up there, because during the week of Passover, even though the first and the seventh days are Shabbatot, the days in between are called Chol Moed. Chol Moed. And even though they're considered non-full religious holidays, people are praying at the wall, at the Western Wall. But then also a lot of Jews are going up onto the platform, which there are signs and prohibitions written all over the place saying that they shouldn't go up. This is the religious authority of the rabbinate or the Jewish world. It says, Asur lachem la'alot. It is forbidden for you to go up, because they feel like, maybe, you might be walking across the actual temple location, X, Y, Z, and on and on. Again, a lot of people have different feelings about temple location, X, Y, and Z. Some go for a more southern location on the other side down in the city of David. Others say it was up here. Of course, that location is surrounded by a bunch of ritual baths that have been uncovered, X, Y, and Z. It's the most secure spot. It's the highest spot. And all of those things. But I would posture this, as I mentioned in the previous video, as I walk out of the Kidron Valley up toward the Mount of Olives. I'm going to let you enjoy the view and not run my mouth so much just for a few minutes. صباح الخير. And besides, I'm also out of breath. So I'm gonna walk, be quiet a little bit. Whee! One thing I can guarantee you, I definitely will have lost some weight at some point. Again, here's a look at the Temple Mount, the walls of the city. There is the Eastern Gate, through which Melech HaMashiach, Yeshua, may it be soon in our days, that he will break through. I passed a young Arab youth. I speak to everybody. I ain't got no enemies. So I greeted him with the classic Arabic morning greeting, Sabah al-Khair, which means morning of goodness. He responded, Sabah al-Nur, morning of light. Morning of light. So, again, in the distance, you see the green hill kind of rounded at the top. I mentioned this in a previous video. You see this green hill. Okay, called by a lot of people back in the day, was known as Skull Pan Hill. And it's not popular, but it is also an alternate location hypothesis for the crucifixion, execution of Yeshua and two other guys. It's outside the walls right now, and it would have been outside of the walls of the old ancient city as well. And there are major gates near. There are major gates near, like the Golden Gate here, the Golden Gate that we talked about the other day. But very curiously, and I'm not saying it's anything real, I'm just making a statement, observation here. If you see the church directly in front with the little orange domes on top, the little terracotta colored orange domes on top, if you're standing right in front of that church and you're looking up, the cross that's directly on top of the highest orange terracotta colored dome looks like it's sitting right on top of that hill. Skull Pan Hill is what it's called. And Zion Hill is pretty much on the same elevation as Skull Pan Hill, but directly across from it in that direction, underneath the Temple Mount. Okay, so anyway, for this video, that's it. Here again from sunny Jerusalem. All right, I am going to stop this one here at this point. I got to find some water, and I will rejoin you again. And just not terribly long in the next video, you will see great views of the city, and we will read a little scripture, the words of Yeshua the Messiah. Okay? Until then, I'm going to say shalom and farewell briefly from Jerusalem, friends. Love you guys. See you soon.